Good afternoon, beautiful people of planet Earth and all other interdimensional entities. You've arrived at Sacred Space Titania's realm on the 11th of June 2025 at 5:04 p.m. Brisbane time. It's Wednesday. I had to think what day it was for a moment there. Well, I had a very productive afternoon. I had my debrief and then I went down to Pet City and I ordered a new cage for Kermie because, as I discussed yesterday, I've been ruminating about it for a few weeks. Having to climb into his cage he's got now to clean it is too much of a struggle, and I'm not prepared to do that anymore. So that will be his outside cage when I can figure out how to transfer him each day backwards and forwards without losing him, which is a worry, but I'll have to work around that. It'll be his outside cage, and we have a nice new cage for the studio, and the top opens up so he can sit on a perch on top, and then one door at the top goes down, he can sit on there. And I can be working at my jewellery, not soldering, because I have to put them outside for that, or take my soldering station to another room. But, I can be faffing about doing things, and he can just sit up there on top of his cage. This is until he's tame enough to sit on my shoulder like Charlie used to do. Don't know if that will ever happen. Stormed over the big chomp I got the other day, Friday afternoon. But anyway, he'll be able to be the king of the roost and look down at me and get used to me being present in the room. But I'll have to move that whatnot shelf with all the lovely little trinkets on it, because if he's out loose he'll fly around the room and knock down some of my precious little bits and bobs, so we can't have that. So I have to rehouse some of those things. I thought about I might put it in the corner there. I've got to think where I'm going to put that though. But anyway, he can fly around the rest because the dolls and that on top of the bookshelf. If he knocks them down, they're just old little things. They're not really breakable. But anything glass or china or shell or little trinkets will have to be moved. And I'm not worried about the cabinet that's got the large row in it because it's got glass doors, so if he flies he's only going to knock against the glass door, but I don't think he'll go flying into that somehow, but you don't know. But even if he did, it wouldn't matter because he can't get inside it to damage anything really valuable. So not that any of that's really valuable anymore anyway, because nobody wants to buy that shit. It's all so old-fashioned. Yes, I inherited the last of the white elephants. That's my inheritance. And I hold on to it as a protest because I fought so damn hard for it. It's like a matter of principle now. You value things more that you fight for, don't you? Then after a long period of time you realise, was the fight even worth it? And you start chucking things out. I've chucked a lot out on the subject of decluttering. My neighbour Tim Sa, who's quite a handsome man, but I've never got involved with him because he's my neighbour. Very nice man though. And he's single now, but there was a lot of fighting and I could hear what was going on, from my house. Note to self, don't get involved with anyone like that. But when people split up, it always gets ugly, doesn't it? It was ugly when I had my separation too. So my husband decided to make it ugly. But anyway, what was I saying? He's a very nice man and he's very good looking. Very, but we just keep it very asti, hello, goodbye, And I actually haven't spoken to him for about 2 years. We live side by side. I haven't had occasion to g'day, how you going? And it would be about 2 years actually. So it was but he's like that. He's a bit random, my neighbour. You know, it's nothing nasty or nothing negative meant by it. It's just random. Pops up like, what was that show? There was a TV series with this neighbour that was just this head that moved along the fence line. It's sort of like that. He'll just randomly pop up at it. How's it going, Tanya? Sometimes we have quite lovely conversations. Isn't it strange? Didn't I say just the other day, or was it yesterday, that I'm hungering and craving intellectual, stimulating conversation with someone with a brain who's intelligent, and we didn't have a stimulating conversation though. But the last time we had a jolly good old chat, it was quite an intelligent conversation. I thought, well, he's got that going for him, you know. But I'm waiting for the one who's not likely to want to fight me, create problems for me, be a fucking narcissist or a psychopath, or turn entire fucking groups of people against me out of just sheer boredom or rich people's games or spite. I'm waiting for the one that includes me in his circle and loves me no matter what, no matter who, that prioritises me and treats me, you know, like I'm the only one, even though, let's be real here, I'm not. But, you know, just someone that's kind and noble and has integrity towards me, and it's sweet. Been living next door to it the whole time, haven't I? Very likely. But, you know, I'm not going there, guy friends and girlfriends, for the reasons being that, you know, the neighbour and other issues aforementioned, and other issues that I won't mention because of privacy issues, but yeah, that wasn't a lifestyle I want to be privy to either. But anyway, he's a very nice man. Well, he's been very nice to me. We've lived side by side for 22 years. He's never created problems for me. So to me, that's a nice man. A man who doesn't create problems for the mama too. Doesn't traumatise her, torment her, stalk her, be a pest, be vindictive, be malicious, be cold, be aloof drama, be cruel, be sadistic. Ugh, that's a nice man. Very nice man. Anyway, my neighbour, the nice man, popped his head up randomly this morning. I was standing in my kitchen in my nightie, not a see-through nightie, just this cotton black nightie. It's not revealing. Which I wondered about that, because sometimes I'm conscious that he keeps a bit of an eye on me, and I thought, so I looked down straight away. Am I wearing something a bit, you know, a bit titillating? But no, I wasn't. Anyway, he calls out from his fence line, which is not that far from my kitchen window, and I see there's just the head, the neck up, from the neck up. He's a bit odd. He's a bit odd, but isn't everyone these days? More and more odder as the time goes by. Seriously, it's getting a bit frightening, to be honest. But anyway, I won't hold that against him, because he's always been a bit eccentric, and so have I. So, I see his head pop up. How's it going, Tanya? Good morning, calling out to me. And I'm standing in my kitchen going, Jesus, am I dressed? Hope nothing's on display, because sometimes, you know, I've been caught out like that, awkwardly. So I open my kitchen window, which actually had closed because it's been so cold. And I call out, yeah, I'm okay, Tim, so how are you going? He goes, oh, I'm good. He says, I want to ask your permission, which I thought was very respectful, actually. I said, oh, yes, what for? He says, I'm decluttering my house. I said, yes, I noticed with the curbside collection you got rid of a lot of stuff. I said, oh, I think that light's going to blow, it's flickering. I said, you know, you'll feel so free when you declutter. I said, decluttering's the best thing you can do. I've decluttered this house since 2008 when I got my mother's chattels, dozens of times. It took me took me about 5 or 6 years before I started fully decluttering, but it was a long process. It took me quite some years to get this house exactly how I wanted it. And then I kept buying more stuff, through COVID. I'd go on these freaking I don't know what that was about. But I'd get I got that beautiful free timber cabinet that I inlaid with mother of pearl. No, abalone, little round abalone dots, because I wanted to learn how to do inlay. I was actually inspired by the musician, blues player Billy Williams of the Hip Shooters, because he's a really talented artist as well as a musician. To you, Billy. And we're not close friends or anything. I've only seen him at his gigs, and we're not. I wouldn't say we're close friends, but we've been friends on Facebook for many years now. And anyway, he would post up these wonderful art pieces that he'd done either for his guitars or various art pieces. And then one year, I think it was 2020, he posted up this beautiful inlay that he'd worked on. And I said to him on Facebook, chatted to him on Facebook, on his open page, everyone could read, nothing private messaging or anything. And I said, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and I'd love to learn how to do that too. So he suggested a book, I think, that you can borrow from the library. But I didn't get the book out. Anyway, but I got the idea. I saw this wonderful timber teak cabinet. It was an old TV cabinet from the 80s. And I got it for free. And then there's a whole story to that too, because my friends Lynn and Peter helped me pick it up from, I think we picked it up from New Farm, from people that lived at New Farm. And anyway, it was a bit of a drama getting that cabinet, because it was a very heavy, solid cabinet. And he hurt his leg and got cellulitis, but he said it wasn't me that gave him the cellulitis. He got that from his backyard or something. I'm not so sure about that. But he did hurt his leg bringing that bloody cabinet down from this tiny, narrow staircase from this really tiny Art Deco type house in New Farm. It was a beautiful house, but the bloody staircase up and down the apartment was ridiculous. Anyway, so where did I go? How did I get onto the subject of inlay? I don't remember now. Anyway, yes. So I bought in furniture like that, things that I got for cheap, for free, or that I bought cheaply. So my house is kind of full again. I probably should do another declutter, but it's nothing that I want to get rid of. I'm happy with how it looks, and my little acquisitions and what's left of my mother's that I've kept, and very, very contented with it all. Oh yes, the whatnot cabinet will have to be moved if I'm going to let Kermie fly around the studio room and have freedom in there. And him and Bo will have to take turns, because little Bo needs his freedom too, but they can't be out at the same time because they'll kill each other. It's like that, isn't it? People and birds, creatures that don't get along, they're competitive and territorial, vicious. Happens in human life too. Does it not? Yes, it does. Just us, the mama too. Right, so anyway, I started this video to tell you about the new cage I bought for Kermie and how happy I am about it, and that's my latest news and exciting news. And oh yes, and the little mother of pearl beautiful shell that belonged to my mother that I've cherished all these years. My mum's been dead 15 years and managed to keep it safe for 15 fucking years. Little bow breaks, but I'm going to cut the little herons out of it somehow. I'm going to have to carefully saw it with my jeweler's saw perhaps, and I'll have to wear a respiratory mask because shell is very toxic to your lungs, can actually kill you. literally kill you. So found that out the hard way one year, didn't I? Jesus. Anyway, so I'm going to inlay those pieces that I carefully cut out from the broken pieces into my cutlery. I think it'll go into my cutlery canteen that I also inlaid power shell into. Just keep embellishing it. Why not? I've got the broken bits there. I might as well reuse them and recycle them and keep the story going. The never-ending story of the artist and the writer and the dancer and the shaman, storyteller and the wild woman of Holland Park, Brisbane, am I right? So I'm so excited about that cage. I hope Kermie is he'll sulk for the first week because he doesn't like even going into the small cage, but that's because he feels, confined. And when I let him out of the small cage, because I put him in the small cage to sit out in the garden with Bo, side by side in separate cages, you understand. Well, anyway, whenever I bring him in, he's in a hurry to get back into his big cage. He goes straight for it. So he loves that octagon-sized cage. It is a beautiful shape, but the problem is the door's not big enough. If you could open the door properly wide, wider, then I wouldn't have so much struggle to get in and back and clean it. But no, it probably wouldn't make any difference because it's just the width of it. I'd still need to climb inside it like a little fucking hobbit struggling to get inside it. So no, that can be the outdoors cage. I've made a good decision for my comfort and Kermie's comfort. But he'll sulk is what I'm saying. He'll probably sulk for the first week. Put on a bit of a turn actually. But the one that I've bought is the same size. It's just, more of a square shape with a dome on top, which I will open up for him, as I said. And he'll be, I don't know if he'll know what to make of it, having a dome that opens up that he can sit out in the open air, in the open room openly. He'll have to get used to that idea too. He's in for a bit of a shock, isn't he? But look, he's already had the big change of moving here, which was just over 3.5 weeks ago. Well, what's today? It's nearly 4 weeks. They arrived on the 13th of May. So, he'll just have to get used to it. And he'll be fine. Eventually, hopefully, he tames a bit more down and can sit on my shoulder and make YouTube videos with me. Him or Bo, or both of them. I know that they'd have to be kept separate, wouldn't they? Well, one night I could make a YouTube video with the Bo, the other night with the Kermie. I could take turns. Bo still tries to bite me though, every opportunity he can at me. With his little beak. And then I just stand and go, really, Bo? Are you really wanting to kill me that badly, Bo? Are you really that hostile and aggressive, Bo? Is it really grinding your gears that much? And then he just looks at me and stops and goes, tweet. He doesn't know what to do with the mummatee who's not fazed by his little displays of aggression. Ooh. Reminds me of someone else, but we won't go there, will we? Mama's living her best life, babies. No matter what, no matter who, she loves you all sincerely. If you don't love her sincerely, not my monkey, not my circus, I'm still going to live my best life because I haven't done anything wrong actually. It's a wonderful thing when you have a clean conscience. It's a superpower, babies. Anyway, yes, today was a lovely day. And I just feel like today life is just going to keep getting lovelier and lovelier and lovelier. And there's sweetness and true love and kindness and honour and integrity out in the world. And I'm calling it in, aligning with me, the Mama T, who is all of those things. All of those things. Unless you try to fuck with me for no good reason, but that you could. Naughty, naughty, very naughty. But anyway, I'm not bothered. I've got my new cage coming and my new birdie and my new life, and it's just all blossoming out like a tesseract of happiness and desire and perfection, and everything's going to be just marvellous. As long as I don't get sick or have any untoward things happen, but that's life. Things like that happen anyway. But there was a lot of evil that went on last year and the year before that, onwards and onwards and onwards, and now even evil has to take a back seat because it knows it's not going to get anywhere with me. Besides, I have very, very wonderful, wonderful protectors out to the wood, because we know who they are. It's interesting, I was trying to explain it to my psychiatrist today about having the Scottish energy with me the last few days. I've been thinking about that. Might be Sir James Douglas, who came to me one evening when I was a bit poorly on the 20th of October 2018 it was. Had a mild fever, I was feeling a bit low, a bit unwell, but I was awake, minding my own business, watching YouTube videos and simultaneously reading something, and suddenly there was this ancient Scottish warrior beside my bed. So I think it might have been him he didn't appear in person, in his spirit form this time, but I think it might have been him sending me little reminders. I'm still around, lassie. I'm still around. So, and that's beautiful too. Although I didn't call on him, I didn't call for any, any spiritual protection or anything, added protection, just living my best life. But it's interesting that he should pop up the last, not today so much, but the last 3 or 4 days. Oh, even the ancestors and the ancient ones like to be remembered from time to time. They were here, lived their lives, and like their story to be told. Indeed they do. I'm wearing Charlie's beak and her heart. Well, it's not her actual heart, but this was a model of her actual beak. And then I'm wearing the other bird cut out kakapo as well. So I've become a bit of a bird woman, haven't I? But I've always loved birds, even as a child. Growing up in Melbourne, actually, I belonged to the Royal Bird Society or something like that. And I was forever bird watching. I don't know why I actually stopped doing that. I guess the birds come to me if they want to communicate with me or come and live with me, and the spirits bring them to me now. It's quite a wonderful thing. Being both seen and heard, valued and cherished, appreciated, and even at times adored and admired and even loved. babies. So, makes me happy anyway. What else can I do with my life? No grandchildren, no husband, no partner, no nothing. Right, on that note, on my no nothing, it's not that bad because I've got everything happening. New cage, new attitude, new blossoming sexuality, which I'm not acting on, boys, so calm your far. And and new zest for life and new everything, just turning over a new excited leaf, reclaiming my power that some people crave so very much instead of getting their own. Saturday babies. Right, this seems to be a continuation of that entry on artists, but it's tacked on at the end of the book after 3 blank pages, so I don't know why that happened. That must have been a fault with the publisher or a publishing fault. It's probably why I only got 3 volumes and why they were cheap, even when I was 15 when I bought them. It must have been for that reason that they were throwouts of some kind. But doesn't bother me. I've cherished these books ever since. What's that now? 45 years. Yes, that's correct. So things are made to be valued and cherished and adored. Right, let us continue reading. Artists have been more conscious of the malign than the beneficent, as in the demonic forms painted by Francis Bacon. Oh, is that what he was painting? And that's who the artist is. I would have thought these were more modern artists. Oh, they probably are. They're referencing something else. Francis Bacon, studies for figures at the base of a crucifixion in the Tate Gallery. But then they threw in these weird paintings. You know, the one that had too much arse the other day that I was greatly amused by is now showing us as full-throttled, open-mouthed. I don't know what he's showing, but it's not all that attractive actually. I don't find it aesthetically pleasing. And this creature, I don't know what it is. What is it? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? A woman on a chair, kneeling down, some kind of mop of hair. Well, anyway, it's not my thing, but you know, I'm weird about what I find attractive or not. Right, here we go. Release from consciously directed and rational processes produced a kind of ecstatic activity, a self-hypnotism in which anything was possible. Yes, that's paraphrasing from, we read that out before, didn't we? Paraphrasing something. Definitely have read that sentence before. Right. My tea light seems to be fresh and original and new, like Kermit's new cage. Right. Artists in Wonderland. The importance attached to the operations of pure instinct and the unconscious mind, the outbursts of an untrammeled imagination, and the creation of something equivalent to a dream, placed the history of both literature and painting in an altered perspective. For the French, there was a literary foreshadowing of this in the poets Baudelaire, Rimbaud, Miami, and Gérard de Nerval. But in the wider view, such products of the Romantic period of the 18th and 19th centuries as the English Gothic novel with all its terrors, spectres and fantasies could be seen in a new light. Edward Lear's Book of Nonsense, I have that and it's wonderful. Bought it for my daughter actually. Lewis Carroll's Transmuted Wonderland could be regarded as classic anticipations of surrealism. And there came a time when a French surrealist set himself the task of translating The Hunting of the Snark into French. Similarly, a new value was attached in visual art to such works of the past. Cold tea. Oh, shake it off. Oh, it's weird because I like iced tea, but not cold tea with milk in it. Yuck. Anyway. Similarly, a new value was attached to visual art to such works of the past as the stupendous fantasy of hell conceived by Hieronymus Bosch, the sinister Colossus of Goya, the Nightmare of Fuseli, the visions of Blake, and the works of Moreau and Redon. The dream world of the modern primitive was I love that, modern primitive. Oh dear goddess, I've been de-evolving ever since. But anyway, the dream world of the modern primitive was a spontaneous expression unaffected by ideas of technical correctness, and an instance of the strange power of instinct that reinforced the opposition to professionalism in painting. In the same way, the art of children up to early adolescence seemed to be automatically produced by the impulsion of a racial memory, recreating for a time a type of primitive artist. From the study of child art and art in the wall, the French painter Jean Dubuffet has evolved apparitions of the unconscious. The surrealist painters of the 1920s and onwards were never a group closely knit together. Sorry, I just had Spirit say to me, you need to watch Outlander again. Get all excited by Scotsman again. I don't think so, Spirit. Although it was a very good show and I really did enjoy that. But anyway, it's random, isn't it? What pops through my head. Sometimes it's mine, sometimes it's not mine. Anyway, don't interrupt. I'm making a video for YouTube. My audience already thinks I'm weird without you and your 6 cents worth. Was that 6 cents worth? Oh, you have to laugh. Dear goddess. Right. I mean, it's just hilarious. You can't take any of it seriously after a while. It just gets more and more stranger and stranger. Anyway, I was thinking this morning about Mrs. Effie Walker, my Scottish neighbour who kind of hated me as a child. Well, she hated everyone. She was a bitter, irascible, lonely old woman who'd been abandoned and marginalised and left to her fate. She had every right to fucking hate everyone, people of Earth. In her 80s at least. But anyway, I was thinking about her this morning. I thought, maybe she's why my love life's been so shit ever since I reached puberty and grew into a woman. Maybe she cursed me or something, the old biddy. She really hated children. She said, "Get out of my garden, you horrible little creature!" Point a nail finger at me. I'll be like, yeah. Because you know kids, 5-year-olds, they don't give a fuck. Just like, all right, whatever. And I just casually saunter out and go back to my home, which was right next door. Oh, that's right. That's what I started this video to tell you about my neighbour. I completely forgot. Yeah, anyway, we'll just rewind a little bit. Sorry, but I got to finish that story. I was in the middle of it and I just digressed and lost the plot completely. That's a worry. Don't normally do that. Anyway, he popped up like Wilson with his head. Can I have permission to put my rubbish in your rubbish bin? Because I'm decluttering. And I said, that's a very good thing to do and you'll feel free. And he nodded. And then he said, I'll wait till your bin's been collected and then I'll put my rubbish in your bin. Which didn't make sense, wouldn't you? I don't know. Anyway, I said, yeah, that's fine. I don't have that much rubbish anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you fill my bin up with rubbish. And then he smiled happily with great relief. And then I looked at him. I literally haven't spoken to him for 2 years. Like, it's been we didn't have a falling out or a fight or a disagreement or anything. It's been no discord. So then I looked at him and I said, you're looking very well, Tom Sir. He did. He's all fleshed out and he's got a very nice shaped face. Very good looking man. And he said, oh, do you think so? He said, I'm so tired. He said, I'm working all the time and I'm working on projects as well. And he said, I'm just so tired. I said, well, for someone who's tired, you're looking very well and looking very, lovely in the face. Because, I'm Mama T. I can't help talking to people like that. It's my shamanic ways. And it's not flirting. And he knows it's not flirting, by the way. So then he smiled with happiness and looked at me. And he said, oh, thank you, Tanya, because, that's lovely of you to say. He said, I'm just working so hard. And I said, and I appreciate you asking permission to put things in my bins because I am territorial, even about my rubbish bins. Because, I've had some creep in the neighbours puts their dog turds in my bin in the heat of summer. When I find that person, they're going to be wearing those dog turds or they're going to be all over their front house. Because I'm a bit pissed off about that. Take your shit home with you like I used to with my dog. Don't literally put your shit all over someone else's property. So, it's in the bin, but, why would I want shit stinking up my bin I don't even have a dog. It's not even my dog. It's just rude. So, anyway, but I said to him, it's not him. He doesn't have a dog. So, don't worry. He's not on my hit list. It sounds funny, but it is annoying, in the heat of summer, stinking up someone else's bin. Just cheeky, obnoxious. So anyway, I said, I'm very grateful that you asked permission to use my bins, Tim. So it's like, I really appreciate you asking. So you can use my bins anytime. I don't really have a problem with that, because sometimes I need to put things in your bin too when I'm overflowing here, which is rare. And he nodded. And I said, we haven't spoken for about 2 years. I said, it's nice to talk to you. And of course, I didn't come out of my house because I'm in my nightie, which wasn't see-through, but he's a single man. I'm a single woman. The neighbours would talk. And anyway, it's just all too much titillation, isn't it? A woman in a nightie. I could have gone and got a dressing gown on, but it's still titillating even, so it's bloody ridiculous, the post-COVIDian epoch, how people's minds run away with everything. But like I said, I had to finish that story because it was very, very unusual after 2 years of no communication at all to ask for permission to put stuff in my bin. But at one time, this was about 6 months or a year ago, some arseholes had decided to throw all their food scraps in my bin too in summer. I don't know who that was. So I just wrote a note next to my bin. Don't be a cunt and throw your shit in my bin. Use your own bins. What, you don't stink up my part of the neighbourhood, you know? Like, it's just nasty. So, maybe he'd seen that at some stage and thought, I better ask permission or should go to war on my head. But it's not going to war on their head. It's just have a bit of, like, respect and boundaries. Like, I wouldn't go and throw, when my dog was alive, his turds in anyone else's bins. I used to carry them all the way around the block. Put it back, throw it in my own goddamn bin where they belong. My dog shit. Simples. Your prawn juice or your prawn, that's how I knew it wasn't mine, because I don't eat shellfish. So I was even more pissed off because I hate the smell of shellfish. I open the bin, there's all this shit in the equivalent of shit in my bin. So anyway, whoever had their dog turd, I'm pretty sure it was those idiots down there that created such a scene and so vicious with the cyclone, threatening me with their bloody trailer. Pretty sure it was their dog doing it, because it only happened for a few weeks and then it kind of stopped. It's like I must have realised, well, you didn't get a reaction out of her. But I have a fairly good idea it was them actually. But I mean, you kind of have to laugh. It's like white upper middle class versus white lower middle class wars going on at Holland Park over things like dog shit and prawns, and it's like, man, is that the best you've got to throw at me? I've had way worse, way fucking worse. Try living through threats of rape and mutilation for 18 months with 2 little prepubescent girls, you dumb motherfuckers. But if they tried that stunt again, I would be in jail. I would. I'd be in jail right now. I don't have anything to lose. My kids are all grown up and abandoned me. I've got nothing to lose for my phones. So don't piss me off. But anyway, you just have to laugh. Because after the cyclone debacle, I kind of realised she's actually not intimidated by anything and anyone. Man, I've got my own spooks trying to haunt me from time to time. I'm just like, yeah, what do you want? Whatever. If they had to live with all the ghosties and ghoulies and weird fucking people that come and go from my life playing their vicious little trickster games, they'd be in an asylum by now. But me, I'm just like, keep going, wash it off, slough it off, grow a new skin, let's keep moving forwards. Like the Mama T's been doing all her life. Stuck in the fucking burbs with white privileged Neanderthals. Well, you get that. But anyway, nothing against my neighbour Timsar. He's flavour of the month now because he showed respect and asked permission. It's called basic courtesy and respect. That man's even dateable. Not that I would date him because aforementioned reasons, but he's dateable. He showed absolute respect. How I like my men. Absolutely respectful at all times. Morning, noon, and night. #consent. Right, where were we? Having a little slip sliding away on the segues there, but oh, what fun. Do you like how I came round full circle though and got there in the end? Right. The surrealist painters of the 1920s and onwards were never a group closely knit together by ideas of style and technique, but only an imaginative freedom that took individual form. As they found affinities in the past, so also they found them in contemporaries who had little or no concern with the promotion of the movement. Thus, the German-Swiss painter Paul Klee was in the surrealist current of thought with his aim It was in the soda's current of thought, with his aim not to render the visible, but to make visible. There'll be no full manifestations here, Davidson, just say. He's been quiet lately, but he did pop in this morning, said something quite funny actually and clever. I was like, didn't give it too much attention, because the more attention you give narcissists, even dead narcissists, the more of a pain in your bum they actually begin to be. Grey rock, no contact, no communication. Boom, bam, boom, babies. But having said that, I mean, that motherfucker haunted me for 9 fucking years. Actually, the anniversary of him haunting me was 2 days ago. Came up in my memories. 9 years it took for him to get over himself. 9 fucking years. Wow. In numerology, the number 9 represents endings and closures and resolution. So there you go, people of Earth. But I've never heard of a ghost of a former ex-lover haunting someone after 16 years of no contact and then hanging around for the next 9 years. He just muttered, "I'll be back," like the Terminator. He did it even in that accent. Oh yeah, whatever. Anyway, stop my foot down, whatever. Well, you have to laugh. It's kind of delightful in a way. That's why I just let it go. Eventually everything will just dissipate, It's not worth getting upset over anymore. I used to get upset once upon a time. Now I'm just like, whatever. Play your silly little games. Because the only way to win is not to play. And you won't win with me. Survived too many arseholes before you. David Davidson. But anyway, the Italian painter Giorgio de Chirico was able to create an atmosphere of dreamlike reverie and suspense. Russian-born painter Marc Chagall, whose art I actually do really like, brought into art the fantasies and the defiance of all laws of nature found in Russian fairy tale and folklore. It's Russian fairy tales. Anyway, I do love Marc Chagall. I would love to have seen his windows at Chartres like my daughter got to see. Wasn't she blessed? Cost her a lot of money, that trip, but she was blessed, very blessed, to be able to see all those places. The Belgian painter James Ensor created sinister assemblies of masked and skeleton figures. Pablo Picasso was hailed by André Breton as the initiator of surrealism, and his destruction of surface appearances was suggestive to others, though much of his huge and protean output eludes the classification. His Minotaur, a powerfully modernized figure of myth, is an example of the way in which his work takes on a surrealist character. Right, left. I don't like this portrait, not because it's kind of erotic, but maybe because it's erotic. I'm not offended by it, but I just find it kind of ugly personally. But I'm not telling you what to think. You have your own opinions, people are there. each soul has their own likes and dislikes and their own opinions. So I'll just show it to you. The painting in the Tate Gallery of This Men Shall Know Nothing by Max Ernst, a member of both the Dada and Surrealist movements, which sought to explore the workings of instinct, intuition, and dreamlike states of mind in which the conscious reason is temporarily suspended. And right, the Italian painter Giorgio de Chirico evoked a sinister atmosphere of suspense, melancholia. Well, I lived through that in my 30s, severe melancholia. Because I was surrounded by assholes and I couldn't escape at the time. And the only way to escape was to escape mentally in my mind. Just showing close up of the hand there and these weird cone type figures. Well, I'm not sure what that is. What is that? Some kind of whistle or key or pendant hanging from the hand. What's that down the bottom? What looks like? Is it a baby? No. Well, it could be. It's hard to tell. Some kind of monkey or baby. It's hard because I'm sorry, but my laptop camera is not the best. Looks like gourds behind it, and then this piece of evocative statement, and then this on top of it. Right. Hanging on puppet strings. Well, aren't we all, darling? We're all just shadow puppets for the gods. Some of us have a good enough connection that we can tweak things a little bit, but ultimately we're just a giant glove puppet. Scary thought, isn't it? Go here, go there, have affairs with this entity, don't have an affair with that entity, hold your line, and all along some giant unseen invisible forces pulling your strings. I discussed this actually in therapy with my psych, and he laughed too. He laughed so much. He loves me in a way because I'm real. I'm so real. I mean, I think I've got it all under control. I said I've got nothing. Just a puppet on a string from some cosmic force that sends me out into the fray and watches what I come back with. Usually nothing but anxiety or distress or disappointment. But when I come back with real love and passion and vitality and sweetness, even the gods applaud for me because they know how awful life has been and they want me to thrive. It's partially why I made a decision. I'm going to buy that cage because I need that cage because it'll make my life more expedient and easier, and it'll be nice for Kermie and will look nice on my room. And it's not just an aesthetic thing, it's literally because it's expedient to clean. I hope it'll be easier to clean. Well, at least I can reach inside it, not have to climb physically inside it like I do with the one he's got now. Because that's just silly, people. That's just silly. Even the birds sitting there looking at me like, I felt like I was in a cartoon, like one of those old style Disney cartoons where the characters just sit back and kind of observe you making a bloody fool of yourself. Wow, we've lived that dream a long time too, babies. One day someone will say, Tanya, you were never the fool, you were always the queen and you shall always be treated accordingly. To that one when he comes into my life and shows his true heartfelt intentions. He's a real man who knows how to treat a real woman, and won't that be glorious? I'm not stirring anyone up, by the way. I'm not. I've accepted and I've moved on, and this is my manifestation for my future love. Someone who chooses to be with me by his own heart, mind, body, spirit. Soul belongs to God, but a true soulmate. Someone who enjoys my companionship and maybe one day will travel with me if somehow I find the money to do so. That would take a miracle. And someone kind and someone who laughs with me, and we have fun together and it's respectful. Someone who starts off by dating me and is honest and truthful with me, and communicates, a good communicator, someone who I can have a jolly good conversation with, because, good sex is what, 2% of your day? What are you going to do with the rest of the day? There's nothing worse than being with a man who won't speak with you and won't look at you and treats you like you're nothing. I had that. It's called marriage. Did it for 10.5 years, so won't be ever doing that again. Trust me on that. It's why I have birds. Even those birds, wild as they are, they don't particularly like me. I'm not exactly their most cherished, adored one yet, not how Charlie felt for me. But, I grew on her in time too. But no, Charlie chose me from the very beginning. When I met Charlie at my friend's place, she was already trying to get out of the cage, trying to come to me. For her, it was love at first sight. But these two boys, they're ambivalent. Like all the men in my life. Fucking ambivalent. Oh, but not all, just the majority. So these two boys will have to grow on me and fall a bit in love with me and realise that I'm their mama and that I'm not going anywhere, that I'm here for the long haul, that they can know that they will have all their needs provided because they're birds, and I'll buy their cage and their food and look after them. And they'll develop trust over time, and we'll have a beautiful life together. How it could have been with a human man if the one I loved didn't play such sick, twisted fucking games with my heart. C'est la vie, babies. My psych said to me today, you were so angry for two sessions. He said you sat on the couch and all I could see was this little bundle of anger. I said, I'm not really angry. It's just games people play. It serves no purpose. Just their own little foolish little game. How does that song go by Chris Isaak? Foolish Game. Is it Chris Isaak? No, that's Wicked Game. Anyway, there's a song. I think Jules sings it. Google it. That's how I feel about it now. But the mamati comes and the mamati goes, and her freedom, choosing to support which bands I wish to support, not being coerced or pressured as dear Alex tried to do, manipulate me in some way. For what end? For what end? What does that prove? I dance because I want to dance. The dance is actually primarily for me to have exercise and enjoyment. I haven't gone and done anything to any of you, deprived you of your enjoyment in any way, including your little sexual forays into the abyss. Oh, anyway, the abyss that cannot be filled. Because once you start that, it's a slippery slope, babies. But, I don't care. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm not interested in what you do with your genitalia. Here, Exhibit A. You see, the universe. The universe gifts me with delightful, humorous ways, and I just find it all very silly and amusing. The man who loves me, body, mind, spirit, so probably lives next door. Probably that's the one. But no, Mama T's going to keep herself pristine and safe and comfortable, living on her own terms until someone genuine comes along. I've been waiting for that someone for 60 fucking years. So I can wait another 60. In Yiddish we say, when it's your birthday. Yes, I haven't forgotten about that either. But in Yiddish we say, bis 120. So should I be graced by the gods to live another 60 years? Wow. There'll be a lot of birthdays to be made up for, boy chicks. Anyway, I'm okay on my own. I function well on my own. I have my spirits and my gods that visit me occasionally and pull my strings and tweak me a little bit. And I have true friends that do love me and are kind to me. And more than that will happen at the appointed time with the right man. And they've got 60 years to get their shit together before I shuffle off this mortal coil. Wow, let's not get too greedy. I don't think I want to live to 120 people. But all I can say is the next 10, potentially 20 years are going to be quite interesting, I think. Quite interesting. Pardon me. Right, let me finish off with this. Oh, did I show you the picture of the melancholia? I can't remember. I'll show it to you again. Kind of been there, done that. Got the t-shirt too. Yes, anyway. New Nightmares for Old. Marcel Duchamp. Independent of and yet inseparable from the histories of Futurism, Dada and Surrealism. Produced the most enigmatic of works. The bride stripped bare by her bachelors. So I find that just that title alone upsetting. A combination of glass, engraving and petrified accumulation of dust that Breton called the trophy of a fabulous hunt over virgin lands. The elements of surrealist magic in the work of those closely associated with the movement consist in the wonders of surprise, in the sensation produced by objects in incongruous relation, in sex symbolism, a reflection of Freudian influence, and the fantastic in many different forms. Max Ernst has imagined the landscape of another world. Yves Tanguy, don't know how to pronounce that, sets amoeba-like objects floating over endless plains. André Masson seems to have looked for a message from some mysterious eternal force in his automatic writing. Salvador Dali has conveyed the disquieting thrill of strange juxtapositions. Joan Miró filled abstract shapes with dynamic life. Alberto Giacometti. Giacometti? I don't know. I'm not Italian. Remember that video, like I think it was last year, where I had some Italian spirit being really flirtatious, saying, calling me cara mia, mia amore, and all this weird well, it wasn't shit, it was lovely, lovely words of love in Italian. I don't know, I really don't know who that was. I did have an Italian lover, years ago at the casino, but he was just dead shit in the end. So it wasn't him. I don't think so. I don't think he's died. It's possible though, isn't it? Oh my gosh, maybe it was him saying goodbye as they often do, the spirits with me. No, surely not. It's not that much older than me. It'd still be alive. But then Davidson died young at 63. Well, anyway, I had this spirit that one of my, it happened while I was doing one of my readings, reading my stories. Cara mia, he kept saying. I just giggled and laughed through the whole thing because it was just so mad. I sent a message to my psychiatrist immediately. I said, I think I've developed schizoaffective syndrome or some kind of schizophrenia. I said, I'm freaking the fuck out. I said, but the problem is, it's intelligent and it's reactive and it's not just delusional psychobabble nonsense. He said, no, Tanya, no, you're not schizophrenic. Aren't I lucky that I have someone that I can ask about that who's a professional and say, can you just check on my videos? It's getting a bit weird here. But anyway, I don't know who that was. And I haven't met anyone since then that's Italian, Sicilian, or speaks Italian. So it's all a bit odd. Yeah, well, it's just occurred to me maybe that Marco, the one I used to do Faccio di Kia to, because he really was an arsehole, two-timing arsehole. Actually, he was more than two-timing, he was a quadruple or quintuple timing. He was just sex addict on legs. He was just... Anyway, I was grateful that I never got properly involved with him. It was just a bit of a dalliance that flipped in and flipped out because, literally flipped in and flipped out like a flippity gibbet, because honestly, what kind of life would that have been for me? He was a Sagittarius. Yes, I'll be very wary of any Sagittarians I meet in the future. I'll be very, very circumspect. But what do you want? What do you want from me? That's how I used to talk to all the men that came near me. What do you want? I want... One idiot came to me at the Brooklyn Standard about 4 months ago. Nice looking man. Nothing wrong with him. Perfectly fuckable. Comes up to me and says, something. He said something that set my teeth on edge. It was a bit disrespectful. So I said, what do you want from me? I want to be your friend. I went, you and I are not friends. After the way you came, I can't remember what it was he said, but it was a bit dishonouring. After the way your opening gambit was so fucking dishonouring. Oh, that's right. He pressed his thigh and knee up against mine. I said, don't do that. Didn't invite you intimacy with you. How dare you? Oh, but I want to be your friend. I said, then you should have asked with your words, not already try and invade my body autonomy with your body. It's just obnoxious. Anyway, he went away for quite some time, and then he came back. And at that point, I was moshing to zombie. I was in my trance zone, moshing to zombie, flipping my hair around, doing the whole. And that particular guy that I'd already told to stay the fuck away from me, basically, reached out to fist pump me, So I fist pumped him back because I'm in the zone. I don't have time to use my word to say, can you just fuck off again? Anyway, He really did want to be my friend. But you see, men of earth, when you meet a woman in a club and you want to get to know her, in polite society, it behooves you to say, "Good evening, how's your night going? Are you having a lovely time?" Before you try and insert parts of your anatomy in her immediate vicinity or press right against her flesh like she's a sock muppet that's going to cover your sock, because it's just rude. Some people like that kind of thing, but you gotta find out first if they're amenable to it, not just assume. This is why I'll be forever single, waiting for the one, isn't it? Yes, but I had too many weirdos over the years at the casino, not at the Brooklyn Standard. In the Brooklyn Standard, most of the people were lovely, but there were a couple at home, a few that floated in and out that were a bit bloody inappropriate. But they got given short shrift, and we all have an understanding. Don't get right up my right nostril and invade my body autonomy, or grab my female friends in my presence, and we'll get along like peas and potatoes. It's really that simple. Simples. Just so I heard my gate go. It's probably my neighbour putting things in the bin like he asked if he could, which I said he could, so. Anyway, where was I? Stuck on Alberto Giacometti. That's right. Gave a superhuman intensity to his elongated, sculptured figures. The disturbance set up or presented by Dada and Surrealism has not ceased to agitate the visual arts down to the present time. Mixed with the humorously frightening and the juggling with media has been a sense of deep disquiet. Pardon me. The disquieting nature of surrealism in the 1930s was sometimes like a premonition of war. Consider The Three Fates of 1939 by Edward Burra or Burra. Burra? I don't know. Imaginative art in this century has gained little content from religious faith. The peace and joy of The Resurrection by Stanley Spencer is exceptional. Artists have been more conscious of the malign than the beneficent, as in the demonic forces that Francis Bacon painted in A Crucifixion. They have shared the uncertainties of science and a mechanical civilization, sometimes fascinated and yet repelled by the machine as a dictatorial monster, sometimes pointing to the mysteries that still lie beyond the frontiers of science's material gains and explanations. Modern painting and sculpture grapple with enigmas. Artists have gone beyond old limits in new confrontations of the material by the spiritual. They may be said, as a modern dramatist has said of his work, to reveal what they do not know. William Gaunt. And the next two entries down below are Artemis, Greek goddess of the hunt and wild animals, lady of wild things, you make my heart sing, you're my everything. And I forget the rest of the song lyrics. Sister of Apollo, probably of Cretan origin, later identified with the Roman Diana. And here we have Artemis, a statue of Artemis. And here we have an athame, athame, which I will read to you what that means. Fourth one. Athame or athame. The magic knife described in the Key of Solomon, which will explain why it's got kind of Hebrew writing on it. Kind of, sort of. Sorry, I got distracted by the Key of Solomon. And other magical textbooks used for drawing the magic circle as used by modern witches. It has a black handle and magic symbols on its blade. Right, people are there. Let me just check how many pages we've got left, because I have a feeling if I don't segue anymore, maybe it'll be a 3-hour video, maybe. If I don't segue anymore and I read faster, I might finish this video tonight, this entire book tonight. Oh, what will we do then, people? Until to find another book. There's 2 more. I've got the 2nd and 3rd volume of this, but I don't know whether I want to continue with it if it's become boring. I don't want to bore my audience. But I guess if you were bored, you would have unsubscribed long ago, or you've just subscribed that you don't watch the videos anymore. I mean, you know, you're free spirits, people are there. You come here and watch me rave on, and freedom, you go in freedom. Cost you nothing, costs me nothing. All it costs, if you wish to invest in at all, is a like and a subscribe, and maybe occasionally leave me a lovely comment, but you're under no obligation to do any of those things. You're free as wild birds, and that's how I like things. Be free, be free. Owe nothing to no one, belong to no one, and no one belongs. I actually said that to Richard on Friday night, the security manager. I said, I'm like the fucking WE playbook. Because what's that? I said, I own nothing. I'm not owned by anything, which is not strictly true. I said, I belong to no one. No one belongs to me. He just starts laughing. I went, no, seriously. I come and go as I please. And I come in peace and I go in peace. And he just laughed. He's a wonderful man. I don't think he watches my videos, but if you do, you're a wonderful man, Richard. But I've told him that before on Facebook. He's a wonderful man. He's been very kind to me, very kind and protective of me. In his capacity as security manager, you understand. And there are others there that have been nothing but lovely to me. So the dance continues. Just won't be supporting a certain person anymore, but you know, it doesn't faze me one little bit, one way or the other. 14 years of supporting that person is, you know, no regrets. I had a lovely time. He had a lovely time. We all had a lovely time. It's true, isn't it? Right, here we go. Arthur, the one and future king. Oh, what would Mummy do if she found a king to her, queen of her own destiny, an equal, a man capable of treating me with kindness and honour and respect, at all times, in public and in private? What would I do with such a man? I'd be so in love, and I'd be so besotted. I'd be, oh no, I can't do that. We mustn't allow that to happen. We must quietly calm the farm. But not at New Farm with very narrow staircases that gave my friend cellulitis. No, we won't do Well, it didn't give him cellulitis, but he did get hurt. Can't be hurting my friends in the process of my mad ideas about my artistic pursuits, but it's a beautiful cabinet I made through COVID. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I made it happen. And I'm like that. I can make things happen. I'm a mover and I'm a shaker, people do. That's why I dance. Badly, but I dance. Right, I'll show you the picture. It's a very big 2-page picture showing King Arthur on one of his, I don't know what he's doing, some kind of hunt by the look of it, because in the old days that's what kings did for fun. They went hunting. This one actually, no, I'm wrong. Looks like they're indulging in some kind of battle there. There's horses diving in and there's people slumped over dead with javelins slapped into them and sword fighting. The ladies are all watching from above. Jousting sticks, $25. Tell them they're dreaming. Right, Arthur, the good king of Britain, whose prowess teaches us that we too should be brave and courteous indeed. I'm very Arthurian like that. I come almost from a different time and a different place. Stuck here in Brisbania with beige motherfuckers that don't know how to behave. Can be very grinding on my gears. It's true. What can you do? Got to work with what you've got, innit? I was born from a different time in a different place. I'm one of Boadicea's babes. What would Boadicea do? It would not go well for most of you babies. But she had a right. She had a right to be angry. A great right, as do I, being played for some kind of idiot. What would Boadicea do? Look around and see the neighbourhoods, the city of Brisbane. It's devolution, demolition, it's debauchery and it's declension. It's astonishing. Boadicea doesn't have to do anything but wait. What did I gift myself? Another 60 years? Well, that's semantics. In the medieval stories, Arthur and his knights became patterns of chivalry and their typical sport, the tournament, in which the knights fought to show their strength and skill in honour of the watching ladies of the court. So that's what's actually happening. It looks like a bloody awful melee to me. But there's the ladies. Imagine sitting up on a balcony watching men kill themselves and kill each other to prove their worth. I don't want any of you to kill yourselves or kill each other over me, people of Earth. That would be a bit silly, wouldn't it? I just want us all to just get along like peas and potatoes, live our best life, survive and thrive in the post-COVIDian madness, with harm to none and competition with none. So it is already done. My beloved ones, my sweethearts, my darlings. Left, King Arthur, from a late 14th century French tapestry. The real Arthur was probably a war chief who fought against the Saxons, invading Britain circa 500 AD. Here he is. A redhead with a red beard. Oh, you know. My redhead friends know how I sometimes stare at the beautiful deep Titian redness of their beautiful beards and hair. And it's not sexual, by the way. It's just I love red hair. I would have had red hair had it not fallen out when I was a baby and never came back. I guess I can be grateful since I was bullied and othered my entire life that on top of it, my freckles and my expansive personality, that I didn't have red hair as well, or I really wouldn't have survived, I suppose. They're all my red-headed friends, you know. They're so beautiful, and they don't even realise how beautiful they really are. They have a complex about their red hair, imposed upon them by jealous, envious, fucking beige, boring monstrosities. So wear your red hair with pride, my rose-coloured ones. My darlings, my babies, my sweethearts. Little is known of the real Arthur, probably a British war chief of the 6th century AD. I'm just laughing at something I joked about with my psychotherapy, but try and keep that confidential. But it was funny. But the stories which clustered round his memory grew into one of the most romantic, exciting and beautiful of all legends. Until, you know, the thing with Guinevere and Lancelot happened, because that kind of sucked balls for King Arthur, didn't it? I think they just decided to just share her in the end, though, if I remember correctly. And they just slapped each other on the shoulder and handed each other a cigar, or the equivalent. Right. The hero of a famous cycle of legends and romances, Arthur was said to have been born at Tintagel in Cornwall. Got a fucking craving for chocolate right now. Didn't buy any, got none in the house. Oh. He became King of Britain and held court at Camelot as the leader of a band of noble warriors, the Knights of the Round Table. The knights rode out to seek adventure and great deeds, notably in the quest of the Grail. In Christian legend, the holy cup used by Christ at the Last Supper. I've got a, oh, that's it. I need a drink of water actually. Just do some tapping. Move that on up or move that on down, babies. It's very boring being trapped inside a physical body when you're a wild spirit like me, but what can I do? Wasn't allowed to leave. Wasn't allowed to leave under any circumstances, even of my own free will. So what do the gods have for me yet for me to discover as I grow older and more beautiful, hopefully healthier and wiser? Some wondrous, wondrous, beautiful love life and delight. Arthur was betrayed by his wife Guinevere and his nephew or son Mordred. Wounded in battle against Mordred, he was carried away by 3 fairy queens to Avalon, the land of immortal heroes, from which he will return to lead his countrymen in the time of their greatest peril, or where the feck was he in World War II and all the other wars, World War I, and all the wars since then and all the wars before. It's a nice story though. We all want a hero to come and rescue us at the 11th hour. I'm smiling because I have that hero. His name is Sir James Douglas. I'm not even joking. Well. The real Arthur. Most scholars think it likely that there was a real Arthur. The name is Roman, Artorius, and the original Arthur was probably a leader of the Romanized Britons against the Saxon war bands which invaded and plundered Britain from circa 450 AD onwards, after the Roman armies had been withdrawn. It's getting very bloody cold in here. Very cold. Got the heater on and it's 24 degrees and suddenly my ankles and legs are chilled to the bone. Hopefully it's not Sir James wanting to make his presence known. But on the other hand, he's a spirit, he can come and go as he pleases. As long as he's not the one that was rolling into the side of my bed beside me, that was highly inappropriate. Just saying. Anyway, if so, ironically enough, the great British hero fought against the ancestors of the majority of modern Englishmen. It has been suggested that he may have trained and commanded a force of heavy cavalry, and that this was the origin of the mounted knights of the later stories. The real Arthur probably lived about 500 AD. A gloomy author named Gildas, who wrote a book of complaints circa 540, says that the Saxons were defeated in a great battle at Mount Bardon in about the year 500. Gildas does not mention Arthur, but there is some slight evidence that he disliked Arthur and left him out of his history on purpose, as you do. Obsolete people, when they do you wrong, suddenly they're no longer in the picture. Well, it is what it is, people of Earth. However, Nennius, in his History of the Britons, written in the early 9th century, says that Arthur was Dux Bellorum of the Britons, war chief or general, not king, at the Battle of Mount Badon. The 10th century Cambrian annals say that Arthur defeated the Saxons at Mount Badon in 516, and also mention in 537 the Battle of Cumlan, in which Arthur and Medraut, or Mordred, fell. The Celtic, I'm going to have to put on some bloody socks, I'm that cold. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to be this cold this early in winter in Brisbane time too. Usually doesn't get that cold till July or August. It's an early chill. The type you want hot soup and hot chocolate and a lovely man to snuggle up with. Well, Mama T would be remaining circumspect on that one. It's a wonderful invention. It's called an electric blanket. You can turn it on and off any time you like, and the bed is always warm and waiting for you. This is what happens when you've been, left alone for 30 years and abused and betrayed and tormented for 30 fucking years. You just find it all funny and laugh it off. Oh, wow. Once you get over the initial ontological shock, it all becomes comedy, people of Earth. Indeed it does. The Celtic hero. The rest of our information about Arthur comes from romantic stories which may or may not be founded partly on fact. In Celtic legend, he became a great hero, violent and boisterous, who rid the land of giants, monsters and witches. He seems to have resembled the Greek hero Hercules in performing superhuman feats or labours. Actually might make some hot chocolate tonight. Some hot chocolate night. Oh, lovely song. You know what I was thinking, don't you? I didn't have to say a word. Just all these sweet little moans. Like a cascading fountain, passion and desire. Anyway. He slaughtered the demon cat of Lausanne. He hunted the fabulous boar, Tuirch Tirith, and drove him into the sea. A Welsh poem called The Spoils of Anwen. I can't read or speak Welsh. Please forgive me, all Welsh people. The lovely young couple that I really like a lot from the Brooklyn Standard, that both work at the Brooklyn Standard. They've just gone on a trip to their ancestral homelands, to Wales. They left 2 days ago, should be there by now. Oh, they're lovely. I said, I can't wait to see all the photos that you've put up of your trip around Wales and around the UK. I'm so excited for them. And they're so beautiful, both of them. And they're so in love, and they're just so, every photo they're kissing each other. And it's not just like a narcissistic cosplay for attention on Facebook or Instagram. They're genuinely sweet and loving, and I love them so much. To you, Nathan and Erin, they probably don't watch my videos, but if they do, hope you arrived safely and you're not too jet lagged, and Mama T's looking forward to seeing the travels. I get to armchair travel via Facebook from all my friends, and like when my daughter was there for 3 years, I got to armchair travel and see everything through their, through their photographs and their experiences. And it's lovely. It is indeed lovely. It's not quite the same as being there yourself, but it's still lovely. So, anyway, but they're so lovely, and they're back in Wales, and just happy for them, really happy for them. And Erin is such a lovely young woman. She's always so kind to me. They're both kind to me. Anyway, they're gone. I think they posted that they're there for 13 months. So, only a year and a month. But anyway, they're going to have the most wonderful time. So the Spoils of Anwen in Wales, a Welsh poem probably written in the 10th century, refers to Arthur's raid on the land of the dead, the Isle of Anwen or Anwen. He sailed there in his ship Prydwen, and although he took 3 times Prydwen's normal complement with him, only 7 men returned from the expedition alive. It's not cool, is it? It's terrible. In Robert Graves' translation, I will not allow praise to the lords of literature beyond care whether they beheld not the prowess of Arthur. 3 times 200 men stood on the wall. It was difficult to converse with their sentinel. 3 times the fullness of Prydwen we went with Arthur. Except 7, none returned from Caer Callur. It's bloody dreadful. Such a great loss of men. The object of the raid was to seize the magic cauldron of Annan, from which only the brave and the true could eat. I'd be eating well then, babies. I take pride in the fact that I'm both brave and true. Makes me a lot of fucking enemies, but I'm okay with that too. I'd still rather be brave and true. It will not boil the food of a coward or one forsworn. Well, there you go. This cauldron may be the original Grail, and if it supplied the food of immortal heroes, Arthur may have gained immortality by seizing it. Arthur was generous and open-handed, as befits a hero. In Coolwich and Olwen, a Welsh story which was written down about 1100, a visitor to his court is offered meat for thy dogs and corn for thy horse, and hot peppered chops for thyself, and wine brimming over, and delectable songs before thee. Food for 50 men shall come to thee in the hospice. It will be no worse for thee there than for Arthur in the court. A woman to sleep with thee, and delectable songs before thee. In the early Celtic stories, Arthur has a large band of heroic comrades, including Ceiwyn, C-I-Wyn, I don't know, C-E-I-W-Y-N-N. All the Welsh people were just tearing their hair out now going, why don't you know how to pronounce that? Because I'm in New Zealand, Australia, of German, Polish, Scottish, Irish, English descent, but I don't speak Welsh. I met a wonderful Welshman when I was a young girl coming back from university. Dropped me home actually. He was very kind and noble gentleman and courtly and respectful of this young girl, which, by the way, at 17 was rare, surrounded by predators I was. So I've never forgotten that Welshman. And to this day I've held Welsh people in very high esteem based on that one man who was so sweet to me and kind. So you see, it can be the difference between life and death and everlasting honour and sweet remembrances when people are kind and honouring. And the alternative, metaphorically speaking, you understand. In the early Celtic stories, Arthur has a large band of heroic comrades, including Ceiwyn, who became Sir Kay in the later romances. So maybe that C-E-I is pronounced K. Could be. Because, you know, Uncle Case's name, my stepfather Case was spelt C-E-E-S, short for Cornelis, but it's Dutch, you know, shortened to Case. It was spelt oddly, but that's how the Dutch spell it. So yeah, that makes sense, that this might be a K sound. Bedwyr, Sir Bedivere, Geraint Sir Gareth, Gwalch May, Sir Gawain, Lenluke. I can't even wrap my tongue around it. Sir Lancelot, and Drust, Iron Fist, probably Tristan. I named my cat after Tristan. He was a redhead, a ginger cat. He was a beautiful cat, but he got run over up on feckin' Cavendish Road. I found his body up there and I carried him home, and he was already really stiff and his head was sticking out of the plastic bag I put him in. Some arsehole walking behind me thought that was funny and burst out laughing. Awful it was. It's when I realised I'm living in the wrong neighbourhood. I live amongst them fucking sadists who think it's funny that a woman's dragging a dead cat home to bury her. Motherfucker. But anyway, Tristan was a wonderful cat when he was alive. He was a wonderful, wonderful cat. His mother grieved for 3 days over his grave. Penny, she was a wonderful cat. But she was a terrible mother to him when he was a kitten. She had 7 kittens and she dragged them all around by the teeth. She would literally crawl from room to room, dragging them behind them, not feeding them properly. I had to give them extra, sustenance. I got worried that they weren't going to thrive. Anyway, out of that litter I kept Tristan, who was a wonderful boy. I miss him. I miss him to this day. He was a wonderful boy and a wonderful spirit. A beautiful boy. But anyway, that main fucking road. His wife is Gwenhwyfar, pronounced Guinevere. Some of the old Celtic gods are with him, now turned into men. Manawydon, Tiernon and Gwyn, son of Nud, the master of hell. Also in his retinue are personifications of superhuman qualities, like Drem, son of Dremidid, Sight, son of Seir, who could see a fly in Scotland from as far away as Cornwall. Wow. And Clust, son of Clustfinard, Ear, son of Hera, who could hear an ant getting up in the morning 50 miles away. Double wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wawa-wee-wa is nice, to paraphrase. Have to think who that is. Borat. Well, who's the actor that plays Borat? It's a Jewish guy, married to an Australian. The name will pop into my head. You know, Ali G. Come on, work with me. Borat. And what was the other character he had after that? Can't think of the name, but it'll come to me. Oh, it's grinding my gears. I know his name. I can see his face. I can do the Wawa-wee-wa is nice. I do good. Cohen. Something Cohen. Sacha Baron Cohen. There you go. Got there in the end, my darling. Took me a while though. Had to go through all the connections and all the... What's his wife's name? Someone just asked. Well, don't ask me that, I can't remember, but she's Australian. Now it's going to grind my gears. It's going to upset me till I know her name, and I honestly, I can't. She's an actor too, actress, actor. For the love of all the gods, why can't I remember things? What is Sacha Baron Cohen's wife's name. Because, you know, a woman must have her own name, people are there. There we are. There it is. Bing, bang, boom, baby. Isla Fisher. You'd think I'd remember that, wouldn't you? It's very beautiful too. Eh? Apparently they've divorced. Oh well, I'm not up with that latest gossip. When did that happen? I've got to know when that happened because I didn't know they were even divorced. Doesn't say. Does it really matter? Who needs this sordid bullshit anyway? I don't care if they're divorced. How does that rain on my parade if they're married or divorced? I'm just being nosy, still perusing it because nosiness. See how the tabloids get you in the end. He is deeply affected by their split because she was his life for many years. Well, of course. Of course. It even hurts, you know, when you end friendships with people that you really love, never mind people that you've been married to for many years. But, you know, shit happens. You just live your best life and let it roll off your shoulders and strive to be happy. What else can you do? Right, where were we? The Breton tales. Before 1100, there were evidently various stories about Arthur and his exploits, which were popular in Wales and Cornwall. They were also well known in Brittany. Wandering Breton poets and storytellers translated the stories about Arthur into French, embroidering them and adding them in the process, and spread them all over France. One of the popular pastimes of the day was listening to the tales of a travelling bard who moved on from court to castle to manor house and lived on what he could collect from his audiences. Each bard's stories might differ in detail. One of them, for instance, said that Arthur had not really killed the demon cat. The truth was that the demon cat had defeated him and carried him off, which knowing pussycats is very likely. But it was not safe to tell that version of the story to a British audience. The bards also tended to make the stories more real for their hearers by bringing the historical setting up to date so that the Arthur who fought the Saxons turned into a medieval baron and his British troops became feudal knights. By 1100, tales of Arthur had spread as far as Italy. There is a sculpture over one of the doors of Modena Cathedral which shows Arthur, Gawain and Kay rescuing Guinevere from a moated castle defended by enemy knights. Sorry, I was trying to imagine what it felt like to be Guinevere in that moment. I do that sometimes. It can be a bit dramatic. It's why my daughter's an actor. It's in the genes. It's in the blood. Geoffrey of Monmouth. An English chronicler named William of Malmesbury, writing in 1125, said that the Britons, or possibly Bretons, told many fables about Arthur, though he was a man worthy to be celebrated, not by idle fictions, but by authentic history, close quote. And that in 1087 the tomb of Walwyn or Galway had been discovered in Wales on the seacoast, but no one knew where Arthur was buried, and so ancient ballads fable that he will return. Getting that weird vibration again as though I'm getting messages, but it's not. Isn't that odd? Whew. Must be leaning on my laptop or something. There'll be a scientific, logical reason for it. Not everything's ghosts and ghoulies, it's sacred space, you understand. Sometimes it's just something quite ordinary and mundane. Right. Someone yelled out, "Who are you kidding?" Shut up, Davidson. But anyway, Geoffrey of Monmouth. An English chronicler named, I've already read that by the gods. Oh, must be getting tired. It's a time. Yes, we're 2 hours in. Right. William's implied call for an authentic history of Arthur was never answered, but a few hours later, circa 1135, the first full and connected account of the hero appeared in Geoffrey of Monmouth's History of the Kings of Britain. This brilliant and compelling work, which masqueraded as history, has been described as the most successful work of fiction ever composed. It has also been condemned by some slightly humorless modern scholars as an impertinent forgery and an outrage upon historical truth, but it still makes good reading today, 8 centuries after it was written. Geoffrey was born in Wales and was apparently of Breton descent. His father's name was Arthur, which may be significant. He drew on earlier histories and on traditions and legends for his history, but seems to have drawn far more heavily on his own imagination. To account for the mass of previously unknown material in his book, he said he had used a certain most ancient book in the British language, though whether this book really existed is uncertain. Geoffrey's book begins with the supposed first king of Britain, Brutus, great-grandson of Aeneas, who was one of the survivors of the Trojan War and the hero of Virgil's Aeneid. Brute and his Trojan retinue came to Albion, Britain, which was inhabited only by a few giants, and founded the city of New Troy, London. The island came to be called Britain from Brute, and subsequent British kings were descended from him down to Uther Pendragon, who succeeded to the throne when the Britons were hard pressed by the Saxons. Uther Pendragon does not seem to have ever existed in reality, and his name may come from a mistranslation of the Welsh phrase Arthur mab Uther, Arthur the Terrible, as Arthur, son of Uther. According to Geoffrey, Uther Pendragon fell violently in love, don't like the sound of that, with Igeana, the beautiful wife of the Duke of Cornwall. Her husband snatched her away from court and shut her up in Tintagel Castle while he went to gather troops. Uther was furious and led an army into Cornwall to punish the Duke. He also appealed to Merlin, the great magician, who by magic art made Uther look exactly like the Duke. This isn't going to go down well. I can already tell. Disguised as Igerna's husband, Uther had no difficulty in entering both Tintagel castle and Igerna's bed, and Arthur was conceived at Tintagel. Arthur was 15 when Uther Pendragon died and was buried at Stonehenge. He was crowned king at Silchester. He defeated and harried the Saxons, plundering them of much treasure with which he rewarded his fighting men. He won a great victory at Somerset in a battle probably intended to be Mount Badon, though Geoffrey does not say so. Armour wore a helm of gold graven with the semblance of a dragon. Of course, a dragon fit for kings and queens. I like the dragon and the Hobbit the best. His shield was called Prydwen, formerly his ship in the spoils of Unwin or Annan. His shield was called Prydwen, formerly his ship in the spoils of Annan. Right. His sword was called Caliburn, later Excalibur. We've all heard of Excalibur, have we not? And had been forged in Avalon, which is where the Celtic gods reside. Arthur went on to subdue the Scots and marry the beautiful Guinevere. His sister married Loth, Duke of Lothian, and by him had 2 sons, Gawain and Mordred. Kay and Bedivere were also prominent among Arthur's knights. After Arthur had conquered both Ireland and Iceland, he invited unto him all soever of most prowess from far off kingdoms, and began to multiply his household retinue, and to hold such courtly fashion in his household as begat rivalry amongst peoples at a distance, insomuch as the noblest in the land, fain to vie with him, would hold him as naught, save in the cut of his clothes and the manner of his arms he followed the pattern of Arthur's knights. This is a foretaste of the Arthurian court of the later legends, attended by those of most prowess, and a centre of courtly fashion. By that they mean the round table, you understand. But we'll just go back a page, because I wanted to show you the family of King Arthur, the family tree of King Arthur. And is it readable, people of Earth? Hold it still enough. It's not very clear, is it? It's all a bit blurred. Bugger. Well, I'll read it out to you. Uther Pendragon, which was the sire, with Igraine, who was also married to the Duke of Tintagel. From Igraine and the Duke of Tintagel we have Morgause, who married Lot of Lothian, and the progeny of Uther Pendragon and Igraine was Arthur, who also married Guinevere but the progeny from Arthur and Morgause was Mordred. Then the progeny from Morgause and Lot of Lothian, who was a king. Well, they're just showing it their sires. No, they must have been a king who've got a crown above their head. Their children were Gawain, Gaheris, Agravain, and Gareth. Morgause had a sister who married Elaine, who married Nentres of Garlot, and another sister, Morgan Le Fay, who married Uriens of Gore, and their child was Uwain. Well, anyway. How many pages have we got left? Because I may have to split this up for another video. Number 1, I'm tired, and number 2, there's a lot more. There's a lot more coming. Not a lot more, but I think another video as well. Right, I'll try to finish to the end of this Arthur story, hopefully in time, and then the last few pages, the last few entries I'll do tomorrow. I know, can I fit it all in though? Can I? Yes, the Mama T will forge ahead, as she does, courageously, in everything she does. Forging ahead, people of Earth. Arthur's conquests. Foreign rulers were alarmed by Arthur's successes, and when he discovered this, his heart was uplifted, for that he was a terror unto them all, and he set his desire upon subduing the whole of Europe unto himself. He conquered Norway and Denmark, and then descended on France. It took Arthur 9 years to subdue all France. He then recrossed the Channel and held a great court at Caerleon in Wales. All his vassals came to pay him homage or homage, and there were tournaments and contests of strength and skill, including archery, chess, and putting the weight. Sounds like shot put. Geoffrey again provides an early trace of the later Arthurian court of chivalry, for the ladies would deign to have the love of none save he, and he had thrice approved him in the wars. And as a result, he adds sardonically, did dames wax chaste, waiting for the one. Yes, well, sometimes I wonder if I should rethink that quest, but it's a noble one. I've been waiting this long, I might as well wait a bit longer, you understand. Also, every time I get my heart broken by a false, feckless man, it just reaffirms that I've made the right decision to stay celibate, asexual, not waste my wonderful sexuality on someone that's just a fly-by-nighter, not genuine. It's tawdry and desolate. And the knights would fight mock battles, cheered on by the dames and damsels looking on from the top of the walls, for whose sake the courtly knights make believe to be fighting. Annoyed by a demand for tribute from the Roman emperor, Arthur and his barons led an army to the continent, leaving Guinevere and Mordred, Arthur's nephew, to govern Britain. The Roman Emperor Lucius Tiberius brought levies from Byzantium, Africa, Spain, Persia, Egypt, Syria, and Babylon in an army of over 40,000 men against Arthur. The armies met in France, and Arthur was victorious in a tremendous battle of thrust of spear and stroke of swords and fling of javelin. Bedivere was killed and Kay died of the wounds he received. After a most unconscionable slaughter, the Romans were driven from the field, and Lucius himself was killed. Before I read further, I'll just quickly show you the photos or the pictures. Above left, part of the mosaic pavement in Otranto Cathedral dated 1166, showing Arthur with crown and sceptre. Tales of Arthur had spread to Italy by 1100. This part of the pavement has been heavily restored, and it is not certain that Arthur was originally meant to be riding a goat. If he was, the artist's intentions were presumably satirical. Above right, sculpture at Modena Cathedral circa 1100, showing Arthur, Gawain and Kay rescuing Guinevere from a moated castle. Right, here we go. There we go. There we go. Aforementioned pictures. Tintagel Castle in Cornwall, where, according to the legends, Arthur was magically conceived with the aid of Merlin, the wizard. Looks like a rather desolate place, does it not? Very foreboding. Ah, well. The treachery of Mordred. Arthur intended to march on Rome, but meanwhile in Britain Mordred had tyrannously and traitorously set the crown of the kingdom upon his own head, and had linked him in unhallowed union with Guinevere, the queen. Arthur returned at once to Britain with his army. The gallant Gawain was killed in battle against his evil brother Mordred, who was driven back to the River Camel in Cornwall, while Guinevere fled to a nunnery, as you did in those days, when your chastity had been called into question. In a final battle at the Camel, Geoffrey's interpretation of the Cambrian Annals Battle of Camlin, the traitor Mordred fell, and many thousands along with him. But the renowned King Arthur himself was wounded deadly, and was borne thence unto the Isle of Avalon for the healing of his wounds, where he gave up the crown of Britain unto his kinsman Constantine, in the year of the incarnation of our Lord, 542. Like other histories written in the same period, Geoffrey's book includes marvels, superhuman feats, and supernatural monsters. Arthur is conceived as a result of Merlin's magic spell. He kills 470 of the enemy single-handed in one battle, and Geoffrey records that he slaughtered the giant of Mount St. Michael who had been terrorising the neighbourhood. But, in the main, Geoffrey's account of Arthur is realistic and is far less concerned with the supernatural than the earlier Celtic stories. Arthur is an ideal but not impossibly romanticised feudal leader. He is generous to his followers, a faithful but not tiresomely pious son of the church, a fierce fighter and an excellent general, and he keeps a splendid and glittering court. When tragedy comes upon him, it is the result of ambition and treachery in his own family, an accustomed reality in the lives of real medieval kings. Even when he is carried away wounded to Avalon, there is no suggestion that fairies took him there, and though Geoffrey does not say that Arthur died, he also does not tell us that the hero will return again. Geoffrey's history was accepted, quoted, and followed by most later historians. Even towards the end of the 15th century, Henry VII, Henry VII, based his claim to the throne of England on a genealogy taken from Geoffrey and going right back through Arthur to Brute. The book was also a great popular success. It appealed to Welshmen, Cornishmen, and Bretons as the story of a successful native British warrior. It appealed to the Norman aristocracy of England, to whom fighting was the one occupation supremely worthy of a gentleman, an attitude which Geoffrey puts into the mouth of one of Arthur's barons. For where use of arms is none, and naught is there to do but to toy with women and play at the dice and such like follies, none need doubt but that cowardice will tarnish all they once had of valour and honour and hardihood and renown. See also the post-COVIDian generation. Just say. Not that I'm a warmonger, you understand, but there's been a lot of piss-weak behaviours that I've borne witness to in the last 5 or 6 years. It's been ghastly, to put it mildly. Sighs. To men who thought like this, Geoffrey's Arthur was an attractive figure, and the belief that he had conquered half Europe appealed to Norman barons, whose own fathers and grandfathers had conquered England, Sicily, and southern Italy, ruled large areas of France, and fought against Byzantines and Arabs. In the year of Geoffrey's death, 1155, Robert Wace translated Geoffrey's history from Latin into French under the title of Roman de Brut, the story of Brute. He remarked that the Bretons of his day told many stories of the Round Table, and this is the first reference to the Round Table which has survived. By 1200, an English cleric named Layamon had turned Wace's Brute into English, adding to it the story that after the final battle with Mordred, the fairy queen Morgan took Arthur in a boat to Avalon. He also said that Arthur had the Round Table specially built so as to avoid disputes about precedence among his knights. It seated 1,600 men. Must have been hard to hear each other across from the table. Just saying. That's why there were no disputes. Nobody knew what was going on the other side. But I'm projecting, aren't I? Yes, I'm projecting. Babies. Only human, after all. Meanwhile, in France, another able writer, Chrétien de Troyes, had turned his attention to the Arthurian legends. Arthur and Chivalry. The poems of the Frenchman Chrétien de Troyes had an even greater influence on the later legends of Arthur than the prose of the British Geoffrey of Monmouth. It was Chrétien who firmly established Arthur's court as the centre of a company of gallant knights and beautiful women, engaged in dangerous adventures and amorous intrigues. Very little is known about his life, but in the 1160s, about 30 years after Geoffrey had written his history, Chrétien lived at the court of the Countess of Champagne in Troyes. He based his poems, or said he did, on earlier written texts which have not survived, and on the tales of travelling bards. In Geoffrey of Monmouth, Arthur is the central figure and hero. In Chrétien and the later French legends, Arthur recedes into the background. Chrétien's poems are about the adventures of individual knights of Arthur's court. Gawain, Yvain, Eric, Lancelot and Percival. Geoffrey, as an Englishman, was pleased to imagine Arthur conquering most of Western Europe, including France. Chrétien and other Frenchmen imagined no such thing, and their Arthur is not a great conqueror. That's because the French are lovers, not fighters. Geoffrey placed Arthur and his court in real surroundings. In the French legends, though a few names of real places are used. Arthur and his knights live in a country that never was, a timeless fairyland beyond reality. Geoffrey never mentions the Grail. Chrétien began a poem about the Grail but did not live to finish it. Geoffrey has comparatively little to offer in the way of marvels and magic. Chrétien and his successors have far more. This element of the marvellous and the supernatural probably came to French writers from the travelling storytellers and originally from Celtic sources. Chrétien portrayed Arthur's court in a way which suited his own surroundings and his own ideals. He was heavily influenced by the code of chivalry which affected the polite society of courts and castles in France in his time. His descriptions of the way in which Arthur's knights behaved are object lessons in the proper conduct befitting chivalrous gentlemen. As he says at the beginning of his Yvain, Arthur, the good King of Britain, whose prowess teaches us that we too should be brave and courteous. We're going to run out of time, I think. I'll just read the piece of prose that's in a little box, the boxed prose. The Welsh Arthur. Said Arthur, is there any other marvel still unobtained? Said one of the men, there is the blood of the Black Witch, daughter of the White Witch, from the head of the Valley of Grief and the uplands of hell. Arthur set out for the north and came to where the hag's cave was, and it was the counsel of Gwyn, son of Greidawl, that Cacamri and Hygwyd, his brother, be sent to fight with the hag. And as they came inside the cave, the hag grabbed at them and caught Hygwyd by the hair of his head and flung him to the floor beneath her. And Cacamri seized her by the hair of her head and dragged her to the ground off Hygwyd, but she then turned on Cacamri and dressed them down both and disarmed them and drove them out, squealing and squalling. And Arthur was angered to see his two servants well nigh slain, and he sought to seize the cave. And then Gwyn and Gwythyr told him, it is neither seemly nor pleasant for us to see thee scuffling with a hag. Send Long Amren and Long Idil into the cave. And they went. But if ill was the plight of the first two, the plight of those two was worse. So that God knows not one of the whole four could have stirred from the place, but for the way they were all four loaded on Lamre, Arthur's mare. And then Arthur seized the entrance to the cave, and from the entrance he took aim at the hag with Carwenan, his knife, and struck her across the middle until she was as two tubs. And Cadur of Prydain took the witch's blood and kept it with him. Coolidge and Owen, translated by G.N.T. Jones. Very Welsh name, Jones. Right, we continue reading. The Contest of the Hawk. The opening scenes of Chrétien's first Arthurian poem, Eric and Enid, set the tone of bravery and courtesy. The hero Eric rides off from Arthur's court at Cardigan to chastise a stranger knight who has insulted one of the Queen Guinevere's ladies in waiting. A real man defends a lady's honour. Excited man. He follows the knight, whose name eventually turns out to be Idair. For some reason, Chrétien hated to reveal the names of his characters until the last possible moment. To a town where he meets a surpassingly beautiful girl named Enid. Nature herself had marvelled more than 500 times how upon this one occasion she had succeeded in creating such a perfect thing. Eric discovers that next day there will be a contest, which Idair, the stranger knight, is expected to win. For in the presence of all the people there will be set, upon a silver perch, a sparrowhawk of 5 or 6 maltings, the best you can imagine. Whoever wishes to gain the hawk must have a mistress who is fair, prudent, and courteous. And If there be a knight so bold as to wish to defend the worth and the name of the fairest in his eyes, he will cause his mistress to step forward and lift the hawk from the perch, if no one dares to interfere. Fair, prudent, and courteous. Next day, the prize is claimed for his lady by Idair, of whom everyone else is terrified, but Eric challenges him and demands the hawk for the lovely Enid. The crowd quickly clear a space and the two knights fight a long drawn duel. They reach for each other with the tips of their lances as they charge together on horseback and strike each other so hard that the shields are pierced and broken, the lances split and crack. The two knights fight on until they are both exhausted and bleeding. Both are ashamed to be striking such faint blows, and they agree to rest. Idair says, "Let us withdraw and rest a little, for too weak are these blows we deal. We must deal better blows than these, for now it draws near evening. It is shameful and highly discreditable that this battle should last so long. Surely we should do our best with blades of steel for the sake of our lady loves." When men were men, my darlings. Presently the combat is renewed. Eric hacks through Idair's armour into his shoulder and then deals him with such a tremendous blow upon the helmet that it quite stuns him. Eric drags off the fallen Idair's helmet to kill him, but to do so would be a breach of the code of chivalry, as Idair is quick to point out. "Mercy now, and do not kill me after having overcome me and taken me prisoner. That would never bring thee praise or glory." Eric relents and orders Idair to go to Arthur's court and surrender himself to Guinevere. The story emphasizes the chivalrous virtues of courage, strength, and skill in fighting, showing mercy to a defeated foe, keeping one's word, refusing to tolerate an insult to a woman. Indeed, you see, I was born in the wrong times. That's what I crave a royal man to this day, by the goddess. The contest of the hawk is a typical institution of chivalry, which occurs again and again in different forms in the later Arthurian stories, a romantic beauty contest which automatically leads to violent knightly combat, but a combat which is supposed to be fought in a fair and sporting spirit. Not that Chrétien and his successors were unduly starry-eyed about their heroes. The knights have the defects of their qualities. They can be reckless, haughty, stubborn, and in the heat of battle or rage, savage and bloodthirsty. Of course, you get bloodlust when you're in the middle of a fierce battle. Everyone knows that. It's not cricket, it's not pleasant, it's not nice, it's why all wars are hell, but it's a real manifestation. They feel fear and do not always manage to overcome it. Their sexual morals are often decidedly loose and did not appeal to Victorian critics. A knight worsted in combat may willingly admire the prowess of his opponent, or he may simply sulk. I'll just share very quickly the little picture down the bottom. When Arthur lay dying, Sir Bedivere took the sword Excalibur and threw it into the water, from which a hand rose and caught it. Early 14th century manuscript. Let's try it straight on. Might be better. Well, anyway. And the picture on the right is Arthur's knights, renowned for their chivalry and courage, constantly set out in search of adventure and to perform deeds of valour. The supreme quest was that of the Holy Grail, in Christian legend the holy cup used by Christ at the Last Supper. The knights swear the quest for the Grail from the Bibliothèque Nationale, Paris. Right, we're not going to have enough time. I've got 25 minutes left of that. What shall I do? Panic or keep reading? 25 minutes is 25 minutes. Here's the picture I've just described. I want you to peruse my beautiful people of planet Earth. These wonderful stories of Arthurian legend. The knightly quest. Quests are the principal feature of Chrétien's stories and of the later romances. A knight rides out to seek adventure and to preserve or re-establish his honour and reputation as a ferocious but courteous fighting man. During the quest he does battle against enemy knights who may be chivalrous warriors like himself, or evil, crafty and treacherous oppressors of the poor and the weak, the worst kind of vermin, you understand. Although I may be deemed poor, but I'm certainly not weak, except when I'm weakened by illness, but that's a fish of a different colour. He rescues beautiful women from wicked knights and wizards. He is often captured and escapes death or dishonour by a hair's breadth at the last moment. He encounters savage beasts and monsters, glamorous seducers and witches, enchanted castles and spell-bound forests. Tickling in my ear. It's interesting. The extent to which Arthur himself has shrunk in stature in Chrétien is shown in his Lancelot. The court is at Camelot. A stranger knight appears before the king and announces that he holds prisoner many knights and ladies of Arthur's household. But he has no intention. Stop that, whoever's doing that. It's not appropriate. But he has no intention of returning them to Arthur's court. Rather do I wish to proclaim and serve thee notice that thou hast not the strength or the resources. Stop it, seriously. It's not my hair either. I thought it was. All the resources to enable thee to secure them again. Geoffrey's Arthur would have replied to this insult by leading an army to rescue the captives. Now they're crawling all over my head. Right, just ignore it. Wherever it is, I think it's okay. Chrétien's Arthur merely replies meekly that he must needs endure what he has not the power to change, indeed. In the same poem, Chrétien tells the story of the love affair of Lancelot and Guinevere, Arthur's wife, in which, Arthur is cuckolded. It's actually burning down my neck. Am I about to have some fucking stroke or something? It's odd sensation. In which Arthur is cuckolded, and which became a stock feature of the later legends. Chrétien's successors also added details which became accepted episodes of the legends. Robert de Boron's Merlin, written soon after 1200. Let me just take a note of the time, 7:44 p.m. It started about 7:40 p.m, didn't it? Interesting. Right. Chrétien's successors also added details which became accepted episodes of the legends. Robert de Boron's Merlin, written soon after 1200, follows Geoffrey of Monmouth's story of Arthur's conception and birth, and adds that he was brought up by Kay's father and won the crown of Britain by drawing a sword from a stone. The Morte Arthu, death of Arthur, brings in the disappearance of Arthur's sword Excalibur into a magic lake when Arthur is carried away to Avalon. From the 13th century onwards, the stories of the Round Table continued to be told, with additions and alterations, to generations of audiences. The stories had the same appeal as the popular romantic escape literature of our own day, for which they largely created the pattern, with many of the same ingredients: heroes and villains, considerably larger than life, sex and violence, feats of strength and last-minute escapes, misunderstandings and mistaken identities, the thwarting of evil designs, and the triumph of courage and honour. The legend in full flower. In the 15th century, the Arthurian legend reached its finest expression in Sir Thomas Malory's Morte d'Arthur, written in English despite its French title. The book is a reworking of much of the earlier Arthurian and Grail material, and although there are inconsistencies, just want to see if there's a mark on my neck. Can't tell. It feels like I've been clawed at by something. And if I have, I'll be bloody livid, because you know what that means, don't you? Just, no, but it's very red. Very red. But then I was kind of scratching at it myself, so I'm not too bothered. I return all evil to its original source, to the power of 10. Just saying, be on notice. Happens from time to time, these little spiritual attacks, and it don't impress me much, motherfuckers. It's funny that should have happened during the story after we mentioned Excalibur, so it must have ground someone's gears. Well, my darlings. Let me just continue reading. The book is a reworking of much of the earlier Arthurian and Grail material, and although there are inconsistencies and confusions, someone just yelled out, "I'm sorry." Well, all right, just don't touch me like that. It's not appropriate. because so many different tales are combined together. The result glows with the charm and splendour of Malory's style. According to Malory, Arthur was the son of Uther Pendragon and Igraine of Cornwall, conceived at Tintagel after Merlin had magically transformed Uther into the likeness of Igraine's husband. Ignorant of his true parentage, Arthur was brought up by Sir Ector, the father of Kay. When Uther Pendragon died, there was no one to succeed him, and various great barons struggled for the throne. Eventually, at Merlin's instigation, the Archbishop of Canterbury summoned all the barons to London, where Merlin had provided a great stone 4 square, like unto a marble stone, and in the midst thereof was like an anvil of steel, a foot on high, and therein stuck a fair sword, naked by the point, and letters there were written in gold about the sword, that said thus: Whoso pulleth out the sword of the stone and anvil is right wise, king born of all England. No one succeeded in pulling out the sword, though many tried, until the young Arthur came by and casually took it to give to his foster brother Kay. When this was discovered, Arthur was crowned king and defeated all rivals in a series of battles. Not realizing that she was his own half-sister, Arthur made love to King Lot's wife when she came to the court, and she gave birth to the traitor Mordred, who was thus both the son and nephew of Arthur. It was this unwitting incest, thank God it was unwitting, which brought Arthur to the Round Table, and the Round Table to destruction, as Merlin prophesied. But ye have done a thing late, that God is displeased with you, for ye have lain by your sister, and on her ye have gotten a child that shall destroy you and all the knights of your realm. The Round Table. Merlin and Arthur went to a lake, from the middle of which an arm protruded holding a sword. The sword Excalibur belonged to the Lady of the Lake, who gave it to Arthur. When Arthur married Guinevere, his father-in-law gave him the Round Table at a wedding present. It seated 150 knights. It's more logical than the other one. What did they say? 1600 or something. In the later books, Arthur recedes into the background, as in the French legends. The bulk of the Morte d'Arthur is concerned with the chivalrous quests of the knights: Lancelot, Gawain, Gareth, Galahad, Uwaine, Chrétien's Yvain, Percival, Tristram of Lyonesse, Tristan, and many more. The story of Lancelot's love for Guinevere is told, and the adventures of the knights who go in search of the Grail. Malory's tales are full of supernatural marvels and beings: giants, goblins, fairies, invisible warriors, wizards, and enchanters. Arthur was enticed into the forest Perilous in North Wales by a great sorceress, but was rescued by his knights and cut off the witch's head. Sir Bors came to a castle of beautiful women, but when he crossed himself, the castle and the ladies vanished, and he heard a great noise and a great cry, as though all the fiends of hell had been about him. The Road to Avalon. In the last book of the Morte d'Arthur, Arthur himself emerges again as the central figure. Realizing that Lancelot and Guinevere were in love, he refused to admit it to himself or anyone else because of his affection for Lancelot. But Mordred and Agravain, who hated Lancelot, insisted on accusing him to the king's face in spite of the opposition of Gawain and Gareth, who saw that it would mean the end of the fellowship of the Round Table. Their misgivings were justified, for when the accusation of adultery and treason was made in public, Arthur gave Mordred and Agravain leave to seize Lancelot. Lancelot escaped them, killing Agravain, and fled to France. Some of the knights went with him, others remained loyal to Arthur, and when Arthur and Gawain took an army to France against Lancelot, good knights were killed on both sides, Gawain himself dying of wounds received in combat with Lancelot. Mordred, left behind to rule England, seized the crown and tried also to seize Guinevere, but she resisted him. That's my girl. Arthur returned to England and in a great battle sought out Mordred and killed him with a spear thrust. But the dying Mordred struck Arthur a terrible blow with his sword. Sir Bedivere helped Arthur away to the waterside, and on Arthur's instructions, threw the sword Excalibur far out into the water. An arm came up from the water and caught it and vanished away again. Then the wounded king was taken into a fairy barge and carried away to Avalon, the land of immortal heroes. This last magnificently written scene is set in Glastonbury. There was a tradition that Glastonbury was the Isle of Avalon, and much of the area round Glastonbury was waterlogged and marshy. Long before, in 1191, the monks of Glastonbury had unearthed an oak coffin from 16 feet underground, which they claimed to be Arthur's. They showed an inscription. Here lies buried the renowned King Arthur with Guinevere, his second wife, in the Isle of Avalon, on a lead cross which they said had been found inside the coffin. Mallory says that it was still a popular belief that Arthur would return again one day, and it was said that on his tomb was written, Hic jacet Arthurus rex quondam rexque futurus. Here lies Arthur, the once and future king. The story of Arthur has attracted many writers and artists since Mallory, including Spenser, Tennyson, the Pre-Raphaelites, and Masefield. Whether Arthur was originally a sacred king has been hotly disputed. An old Welsh poem says that he had 3 wives, all named Guinevere, which might suggest that he was regarded as a sacred king married to the triple goddess, which is maiden, matron, and crone. Mordred's attempt to seize both the throne and Guinevere suggests the combat between the sacred king and his rival and attempted successor, who tries to oust him as consort of the goddess. The evidence is inadequate to prove the theory, but it may be that this ancient theme lying beneath the surface of the legend has helped to give it a deep and timeless appeal. Written by Richard Cavendish. For the Grail legends, see Grail, also Camelot and Arthurian Britain, Galahad, Gawain, Lancelot, Merlin, Morgan Le Fay, Parsifal, Tristan. Further reading, Mallory's Morte d'Arthur is available in numerous editions. There are Penguin and Everyman editions of Geoffrey of Monmouth, and an Everyman edition of Chrétien de Troyes for the origin and growth of the legend. See R.W. Barber, Arthur of Albion, and for the real Arthur, see Geoffrey Ashe, From Caesar to Arthur, Collins, London. We have 5 minutes. I may complete the story with the little box at the top, which is the last on the subject. The passing of Arthur. Then Sir Bedivere departed and went to the sword, and lightly took it up, and went to the waterside, and there he bound the girdle around the hilts, and then he threw the sword as far into the water as he might, and there came an arm and an hand above the water, and met it, and caught it, and so shook it thrice, and brandished, and then vanished away the hand with the sword in the water. So Sir Bedivere came again to the king and told him what he saw. Alas, said the king, help me hence, for I dread me I have tarried over long. Then Sir Bedivere took the king upon his back, and so went with him to that waterside. And when they were at the waterside, even fast by the bank hoved a little barge with many fair ladies on it, and among them all was a queen, and all they had black hoods, and all they wept and shrieked when they saw King Arthur. Now put me on into the barge, said the king, and so he did softly, and there received him 3 queens with great mourning. And so they set him down, and in one of their laps King Arthur laid his head. And then that queen said, Ah, dear brother, why have ye tarried so long from me? Alas, this wound on your head hath caught overmuch cold. And so then they rode from land, and Sir Bedivere beheld all those ladies go from him. Then Sir Bedivere cried, Ah, my lord Arthur, what shall become of me, now ye go from me, and leave me here alone among mine enemies? Comfort thyself, said the king, and do as well as thou mayst, for in me is no trust for to trust in. For I will into the vale of Avilion, to heal me of my grievous wound. And if thou hear never more of me, pray for my soul. Sir Thomas Malory, Le Morte d'Arthur. With just a tiny bit of time left. An oak table in Winchester Castle, once believed to be the original round table. Henry VIII showed it proudly to royal visitors. It has the Tudor rose in the middle because the Tudors based their claim to the English throne partly on their supposed descent from Arthur. And there we have it, the round table. And miraculously, we completed the story just in time before my laptop spits us all out at the 3-hour mark. Blessed be. Take good care. Be of good cheer. Mama T loves you all. Be at peace, my beloved ones, including my enemies. You didn't know better. One day you'll be wise and you'll laugh about it then. In the next dimension.